Welcome to the training video on the Predictability Measure for Jira Cloud. My name is Matt Risch, and I'm going to walk you through how this powerful app can lay the foundation for predictable delivery at scale, build and strengthen trust through transparency, and foster greater accountability. I know, wow, that is a lot for a little app, so let's dive right in and get started. In this demo, we will look at a Jira project with multiple teams, each with their own board or series of boards, and each with a specific team designator that routes work to their desired board and not the other ones. This is done in one of three ways: a component representing a team, a label representing a team, or a custom field called team name. Let's take a look at the Art Team 1 Scrum board. As you can see, they are getting ready to start Sprint 6. They have their work loaded into the sprint and estimated, which is important because similar to the velocity chart readouts, having the work estimated using story points is key to the predictability measure's output. Let's go ahead and start the first sprint. Because this is a demo, I know this team's average velocity is around 40 story points. So I'm going to move all of this work over to done. Now the team is telling me they still have some extra capacity. So let's grab the 2-point story that they selected to do and bring that into the sprint. Hit OK. And we'll go back to our active sprint. And now I'm going to move this over to done as well. And this one gets completed just before the sprint ends. Hit complete sprint. Job well done. Excellent. Generally, this is where we'd select reports and then velocity charts to see the amount of work we committed to versus completed, as well as the learning path this team has been on as they started off with a pattern of overcommitting and under-delivering. Now, this is a great report, but it is missing the mathematical calculations returning the quantitative data to report and leverage for improvements. That's where the predictability measure comes in. To access the app, select Apps, then Manage Your Apps, and then you will select the predictability measure under Apps. And lastly, you will select View. Now, if this is your first time using this app for a project, a blank white screen will appear with a small plus button to allow you to begin adding teams. But for most, the teams you have previously added will be there each time you open the app. And as you can see, the predictability measure accepts any combination of the 3 team designators we talked about earlier. Let's add some teams. As you can see, the plus button default is team component, and in this case, the ALM team. I'm going to add more, and this time filter by custom field and select Art Team 1. Now I will filter by label, and note that it defaults to SAP Security, since this is the only team using this label. I will filter by custom field again and look for another team. And let's see, let's pull this down, take a look at our teams. Okay, we've got several. And I think I will select DHS. And let's add one more team. Since it defaults to component, I'll select the other team using this designator, PDAS. We now have 5 different teams added, so let's take a look at the data, starting with ALM. Over the course of 5 sprints, the ALM team is averaging 85% predictability with a 15% variance. This team is making great strides towards the goal of 90% predictability with a 10% variance. The question usually comes up, why is 90% predictability our goal? Because delivering 90% of your commitments on a regular cadence far exceeds industry standard baselines for any methodology. And a 10% variance only reflects reality. No one is perfect from an estimating perspective, and teams need space to experiment, learn, and grow. It takes a lot of work for teams to achieve this goal and continuous attention to understanding the work to sustain it. Let's look at Art Team 1. This team has a predictability of 69%. Unfortunately meaning that if this pattern continues, that leadership would only be able to trust this team to deliver 69% on the average of what they commit to. This makes it difficult when we are aligning large groups of people to a plan, scheduling integrations, and coordinating dependencies. It also creates higher level challenges as team commitments tie directly to financials, customer expectations, and our perception in the market. However, looking at the last 2 sprints, they do appear to be rebalancing their commitments, signaling that this may be the beginning of a pattern of predictable delivery. SAP security looks good, similar to ALM, so let's move on to DHS. DHS, if we were to look just at the predictability, appears as though they are regularly delivering more than what they commit to, which isn't always good. It could signal a team that's padding their estimates and undercommitting based on their capacity. But looking at the variance, we see 123%, which points to a problem. What kind of problem? We don't know yet. We'll need to look more closely at the data and have a conversation with the team to understand what happened. If we look at their sprint 3, we see a 431% variance. This is where we'd focus our initial discussion. They committed to 16 points and delivered 85. Generally, when we see this, it points to misalignment with application expectations, such as Jira's need to have everything in the sprint estimated before starting it. Our discussion with the team would pertain to sprint planning, estimating, and capacity, and application process needs. This is all part of process improvement, ensuring the quality of the data based on alignment to the expectations. It's better to see this type of information than not. Data like this is a forcing function for conversations around improvements in our ways of working. To get a better idea of this team's average, I'm going to delete this sprint from the calculations and see where we are. Okay, that looks better. This is an easy way to tell if a team is in a pattern versus dealing with an outlier situation. Now let's add it back in. Please note that any re-added sprints will stay in their new row position. This is so that we can easily see modifications were made. It does not impact the mathematical outputs, so let's move on to the last team, PDAS. Not only does this team have a predictability and variance that raises questions, note the number of points in iteration 3. The team committed to 3 and completed 5. These numbers created a 67% variance and 140% predictability for this iteration alone. This is the practical implication of sampling variability. I've included the definition on the screen for clarity, but let's look at another example of this variability. Imagine you are measuring the average height of all the people in the office. If you take a sample of 5 people, the average height can vary widely depending on which people are chosen. However, if you take a sample of 100 people, the average height is likely to be more stable and closer to the actual average height of all the people in the office. The applicable logic is that even if our sampling size in terms of story points is low, as we add sprints, our metrics stabilize, revealing our actual average. So we know where each team is from a performance perspective, but leadership would also like to have visibility into the consolidated predictability across large groups of teams. This broader visibility allows us to assess the performance and predictability of entire programs or agile release trains. By consolidating data from multiple teams, we can identify patterns, trends, and potential areas for improvement across the organization. This is where the roll-up functionality of the predictability measure comes in. It consolidates the data from all added teams, providing a holistic view. Simply select the Roll-Up Predictability tab to view the consolidated performance of this group of teams. Okay, so with an 89% predictability, we would hope to see an 11% variance. The 18% variance suggests a bit of undercommitment and over-delivery. It could be an indicator of issues with forecasting, unclear team capacity, or patterns in estimating and understanding the work that need to be addressed. This will also show the average velocity of all combined teams. Understanding velocity as an input to an equation focused on closing the gaps between what a team commits to versus what they deliver drives the planning and thinking around their work that yields the desired results. And as it stabilizes, it can be used for capacity management and forecasting. And along with the variance and predictability measures, it helps to ensure the accuracy of our commitments and deliverables.